I want to turn our attention now to fraud, because fraud cases in Quebec are soaring, but nearly 90% of the cases that are reported to police forces in Quebec never result in charges. Analysis of data from major police forces includes Montreal, Longueuil, Laval, Gatineau, Sauté, Quebec, reveals that out of 150,000 fraud files opened since 2019, only 13,000 have led to formal accusations. A lot of things at play here. Let's find out a little bit more. Steve Waterhouse on the line, cybersecurity expert. Steve, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Elias.
Is this just a case of police officers drowning in too many cases?
It is in some instances because they always have to compare how much energy and resources they have to devote on actual conventional crimes, I call them, versus those technologically enabled crimes that we are witness to or victim of in the recent, let's say, 10, 15 years, if not 20 years. Throughout the last 20 years, and I'm going to put it at 20 years, the police services have a dynamic of the changing nature of society because we're more digital. It was asked of society to be more digital. But the technical means, human resources, and orientations have not followed that technological crime. So you have the same number of police officers and also criminal prosecutors in that effect that does their basic tasks every day. But on top of this, you have that overwhelming numbers of complaints that occurs, especially with fraud every day, that they have to deal with. And so between a crime, conventional crime, I call them, which is a kidnapping, let's say a robbery or someone shooting someone, they'll devote more energy on this versus what they call a soft crime, which is fraud, which is used with computers and various electronic means online.
Is it getting too easy to fraud someone that's making this a bit of a problem? You know, there's always been a cat and mouse game, right, between criminals and the police. But if criminals are getting more adept at using technology, using artificial intelligence, using digital tools, and if the police don't keep up with that, I imagine it's almost impossible to keep up with the amount of cases. Is that part of what's going on here?
It is part of the problem in life. And the fact that we've never been taught how to use these online devices / platforms, we keep committing errors. And by such, people are just learning as they go, and they do the best they can with what they have. And so would it be more useful to train people and trying to understand? And let's say we'll keep it simple as a bank application. Now we have less counters to serve the clients. The banks have less counters to serve the clients. And now people are forced to use their app. When I go to the bank teller once in a while, I hear clients complaining they cannot complete their transactions with their applications versus what they need to do actually with the bank, moving money around. And so this is a big issue, and that won't go away, that's for sure. But if people do not get the proper education about those tools, it will not go away. Same thing with the police services. I mean, they're supposed to take everything that's criminal. They'll be taking your depositions. That's true. But down the road, and as the article stated, it is very, very difficult to get a proper evidence of who committed the crime against you, when, how, and by such, in the electronic world, a bit of difference can just condemn somebody else or let it go. So that's why it's very difficult, and it takes a lot of time to create a dossier and follow it to get someone. And most of the time, Elias, as you know, many fraudsters operate outside of our jurisdictions, and there's no possibility of getting them, grappling them from across the world and bringing them and trying them here in justice on Canadian soil. So that's another issue, another layer of complexity that's added on top.
With Steve Waterhouse, a cybersecurity expert. So yeah, the data here from the various Quebec police forces says that it's computer fraud, cyber fraud, that's the least likely to result in charges. So how do we change that? I mean, some of the things from what you just said, my mind goes towards there needs to be better sharing between various police departments in different jurisdictions. That could be one way. You mentioned the education thing might be a bigger way. How do we stop this explosion in cybercrime?
Well, there's twofold on this. The police services are getting their way of doing things better, internationally wise, because once they get a hold of a specialized group that does that fraud over the phone, over the internet, they get together, and over time, we've seen these operations across the world via Europol, Interpol, and the RCMP, the Montreal Police, is contributing to these cases. They do a great job of stopping the head of the snake, as we call it, not just the low-hanging fruits. But then again, this is one thing. They're getting their stuff right. But people-wise, in our society, some police services started to go to, let's say, the elderlies and getting their attention and telling them, if somebody loves you from across the world, suddenly, is that a possibility that someone across the street would have the same attraction toward you? And this is the education that people just fall into that trap, and they just send out tons of money. And you've seen the numbers; they're quite high, and people just want to believe that something is possible outside of these walls here around us. And I say walls because in our society, let's put it that way. But then again, the people and many family members have people around them just trying to get the perfect person to live the rest of their lives with them, or the perfect deal on let's say, Facebook Marketplace. It happens also like that in these places. So you have to, again, take the moment and double check and challenge what's being provided to you, because most of the information that comes from the internet directly is untrustworthy until you counter-verify it.
Steve, listen, before I let you go, there's one question that I really want to ask you, because you've been asked to testify as an expert when these cases, the 10% or so of cases where there actually are charges laid and they end up maybe in the court system. You've actually been asked to testify as an expert in these cases. What does your experience in court tell us about how we should handle this?
The little experience I had in testifying in court was in specific dossiers rather than general exposure on the fraud themselves. But then again, it is a matter of having to prove, okay, this is person A that says you stole from person B, and what are my role in this was to say, here are the technicalities and by which I believe this happened from person A versus person B with different computer systems involved. But then again, to know exactly where it is, and especially like I was saying with Marketplace of a international platform like Facebook, they have to go through, the police services will have to go through Facebook, get a lot of information, analyze it, and then present it. So that's why I'm saying, again, it's really, really hard to build the case in a timely manner, especially.
It's a staggering amount of work involved, especially when you're going to start to deal with tech companies here. Steve, I got to leave it there. Thanks so much for coming on.
Anytime. Cheers.
Steve Waterhouse, a cybersecurity expert.